So parameterized arrays. This is going to be fairly short. Um, Basically, what we've been doing, if let's say we want to add numbers and we aren't sure of how many numbers are going to be passed, we actually create multiple versions of an add method. We might do a version with 2 numbers and a version with 3 numbers and a version with 4 numbers. The params keyword was developed to allow for a varying number of parameters. It allows you to pass an array, and the arrays can be different lengths. And so that kind of eliminates the need to create these overloaded methods that are accepting, 2 arguments and 3 arguments and 4 arguments. Okay, it just makes things a little bit cleaner. So to create these, all you do is you have to put the keyword params in the method signature, because that's normally where you will see it. So in your method signature, which is the first line of the method, you've got your access modifier, the return data type, whatever the name of the method is, and whatever variables you're passing. And then the very last one would be the params array. So you have the keyword params followed by whatever data type that array is, brackets, and then the name that you are going to call it. Okay, and it's really important if you have other data that you're passing that the params array is last. It's kind of one of the little rules for using these. So I do have examples because I think that understanding how this works is much easier with examples. We've got this little random number example, and here I am generating some random numbers. I think there's 6 of them. And here I've got a little subset where it's pulling out 3 of the random numbers. And I'm calling the add method. And I'm passing numbers. So I'm passing 6. And then I'm passing this little subset of 3. And then I'm calling it here, and I'm passing it 5 numbers. This one method is handling all these different numbers being passed. Okay. Without using params, I would have had to create multiple versions of the add method. Okay, but because I'm using params with an integer array, this can handle a different number of arguments. Okay, so we pass it the one with 6, and it can handle it. We pass it the one with 3, it can handle it. We pass it the one with 5, it can handle it. Okay, and each time it returns a total. So to do this, what you have to remember is that a C# parameter array is declared with the params modifier. That is how it knows it's a parameter array. You can only use it with a one-dimensional or single-dimensional array. In your argument list, okay, in this list, you can only have one parameter array. I mean, you can't have multiple ones. And if you have more than one argument, as shown up here, okay, the params has to be last. You cannot use params with ref or out. It doesn't really even make sense because an array is in the heap. So it is a reference variable. So there's no need to put ref or out in front of it. But that is a rule. You can't put ref or out in front of it. If you overload a method with params, the non-params method takes priority. So what does that mean? I do have an example, and this is from the book, although I did change it a little bit. There is a little class called utils or utilities, and you can see there's a sum method with a params integer array. Okay, and then down here, we have another sum method. And there's 4 different values being passed, and they have defaults. Okay, so that means that you can pass 1, 2, 3, or 4 values, and it's going to use this one. Okay, because that is the one that takes priority. That's what it's saying here. If you overload a method with params, the non-params takes priority. This is the one without the params array. So this guy takes priority, and it will be called if we pass 1, 2, 3, or 4 values. If it's anything above 4, then this one is going to be used. Okay, and so in the main method, you can see I'm passing 1. So it should be using this one, right? Here, this is over 4. So we would assume it's going to use this one. This is also over 4. But then the last one, there's only 2. So if you come down here, you can kind of look, and it did exactly what we expected. Okay, and this is something you can copy and run. So what we were looking at just now is how to use params for a variable number of arguments that are the same data type. Okay, and I think we were looking at integer, but it can be any data type. But what if we aren't sure of the type of arguments? What if we don't know what the data type is? C# does allow params that use the object type. We have not talked about inheritance yet, but all objects come from the object class. And so we can use this object class as a params data type. Okay, so it's kind of the same syntax as before, except for now we have an object. We don't just have a variable, we have an object that we're dealing with. And what we're doing is in our main program, we haven't really dealt with the string arguments, but if you run main from the console, you can pass it strings. And if we create a program object, okay, that main is in, we can actually pass that object values, and it brings them through here. And so this is kind of what we're doing. I've got my program, example 1 equals new my program. Example 1 lists. You can see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strings, and they have to be strings because of this, okay? But I'm passing it 5 strings, and it's basically writing them out, and it's pulling in an object. So here it's another example where I'm passing 2 strings, and here is an example where I'm just passing 1. So that's probably my best example of an object right now. And this is considered to be an object.